Richard Medhurst, a prominent independent journalist, was detained in Austria for the crime of doing journalism. We are witnessing an increased crackdown on journalists in the West who exposes the genocidal crimes of Israel. Richard Medhurst is a Syrian independent journalist who is extremely critical of the genocidal crimes of Israel, which led to Western governments harassing and detaining him. They are accusing Richard of being a member of Hamas simply for recording and documenting the crimes of Israel. If you don't support Israel burning children alive, you're an agent of Hamas. Can we just take a second and acknowledge how absolutely terrifying it is that Western governments can just label people as Hamas members because they are critical of the state of Israel, and after they do so, you lose all your rights. After Zionists labeled him as a Hamas member, they are now threatening to put him in prison for 10 years. This is why it's completely pathetic when cowards pretend that Israel is only one issue. The fight against Zionism is the fight of our lifetime. Zionists have completely infiltrated Western governments, hijacked their elections, and now making it a crime to expose the genocidal actions of Israel. Journalism is under threat in the West, and we must stand in solidarity with independent journalists who risk their neck to expose the crimes of the empire.
Fuck Israel all day, every day. Fuck Israel till my last breath. Fuck Israel till I'm in jail or I get shot. Fuck Israel. Fuck Zionism. Fuck you and fuck you. Fuck Israel. That's it, man. Fuck you, you colonial fucking settlers. Go fuck off back wherever you came from, you murdering psychopath colonizer motherfuckers. Fuck you, fuck Israel. You will never accept Israel. Fuck you till the end of days. Fuck you. I have a platform and I'm gonna yell it as loud as possible. Fuck Israel. Fuck you.
Western propagandists around the world are freaking out now that the USAID funding was pulled. It is now being revealed that USAID funded Western propaganda, paying over 6,200 journalists at over 700 news outlets. And among them was Reuters, Politico, and the BBC that was paid to spread neoliberal pro-war propaganda. The conspiracy theorist was right once again. The implications of this is astounding. This means American taxpayer money was used to propagandize their own citizens. This should be a massive, massive scandal. The same corporate media outlets who advocated for the censorship of Americans was being paid and funded by the United States government. This also means that Joe Biden paid NPR, Politico, Reuters, and the BBC to kill the Hunter Biden story and to cover up the corruption of his family. Not only that, the Biden administration used these Western outlets to push his wars and genocides. These Western outlets funded by the United States government strongly supported Biden's crazy war against Russia and Ukraine, and then smeared other Americans who did not support the war as Putin puppets and American traitors. In fact, USAID was funding anti-Russia propaganda in Ukraine. 9 out of 10 Ukraine media outlets was funded by USAID. The United States was funding a global network of journalists to spread empire propaganda, including rabid anti-China hate and advocating for war against Russia. Joe Biden and the United States used our taxpayer money to pay off Western journalists to become complicit with their genocide. Remember, guys, all of this is legal because Barack Obama signed an executive order allowing the CIA to collude with the media to propagandize the American people. This is exactly why all corporate media sounds exactly the same, and why Americans are 100% right to have distrust for legacy media.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
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 And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
What's poppin'? My friends, my family, welcome back. Welcome back. It's the first post-Duopoly show of the Trump administration. So this is definitely going to be a banger. It's great to have my post-Duopoly crew with us. We got Kit Campbell from Harlan's Media. I'm killing it with the morning shows that I watch all the time. We got Do Distance here with us, Russ and Keaton. What's up?
Pleasure as always. Russ, your mic is something's weird with the microphone.
Yeah, man, something's up. It's
cackling.
buzzing.
Oh yeah, you're not getting my mic?
I'm getting it, but it's cackling.
Yeah, try to restart maybe.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
It's all good. Or either that, it turns out he's an alien. We got to put the glasses on, and there he is. He's one of those.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Should have known the whole time.
Yeah. Maybe if you just reset, he will be back. It's great to have you guys back. I've been having a blast. Like on X has been banging, man.
Yeah,
man.
Great, man.
Now that we actually got the liberals out of the way, you know what I mean? This is what I always wanted. I remember being on the Bernie campaign, like, man, I wish these fucking liberals would get out of the way so we can start exposing MAGA. And that's what I've been doing the last day. I got blocked by Andrew Tate.
I know. We covered that. We put that in our segment yesterday. Yeah, that was great.
Dude, all what you got to do is just pay $1,000 for his elite courts class, and even you yourself can be a multi-millionaire. You just got to pay him money to become a millionaire. That's just how it is. Just like all the red pill guys. Again, it's an interesting grift. They're like OnlyFans models for desperate, lonely dudes, man. I mean, come on, man. Come on.
Yeah,
we did a whole segment yesterday on just the MAGA influencer cope over Trump's I would say surrender to Israel because he's on Israel's side, but he's basically handed them victory. And then all these quote unquote anti-war MAGA people were just desperate to find a way to sell to their audience that no, it's 5D chess. Don't worry, Trump has Netanyahu right where he wants him.
Who do you think's the worst one though, Keaton? Because I'm right now just because
it's got to go to Ian Carroll because of that 10-minute video. I mean, it has to go to him because of that. Yeah, I mean, he spent 10 minutes. Yeah,
I would say like for me, like the one that I feel like is the worst because I actually hate censorship was Russell Brand.
He was close. We put him in the segment too. He was in the segment too. Yeah.
It's just like, after how he was being, earlier last year, just like, I can't believe I stuck my neck out for that douchebag for censorship. It's like, come on. Anyways, all right. Fair enough points.
MAGA been having a tough time. Like this is the Nico did hotspot covering this. Big shout out to my hotspot homie Nico House. They've been having a hard time justifying how they support Zionism, and I would always laugh at these people in their face. I told people months ago, and I feel so vindicated. Because I told people that Ian Carroll is a useful idiot for the Zionists, and Ian Carroll said that he sees no other way to end the violence in Gaza other than U.S. occupation, because we know famously U.S. occupation has been a great way to end violence. Surely the people of Gaza will 100% appreciate the presence of United States troops there, especially what they did over the last 2 years. But this is the nonsense. This is the cope that we've been dealing with. And I've been calling out these people directly. And it's funny because I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember I think Dude Distance brought this up, how MAGA are the new snowflakes. Like whenever Democrats are in charge, liberals are the snowflakes. Whenever Republicans are in charge, the Republican side turn more snowflake. I have people like begging me to take it easy on MAGA because I've been dragging them so hard over the last few days. So as we get started, we gotta get Russell back in here. I want to get you guys' thoughts, and I want to dive more into the USACE story, but I want to get your initial thoughts. We can start with Kit, and we go with Russell and then Keaton.
Well,
a few weeks of the Trump administration.
Well, I mean, obviously, there's always the honeymoon phase when an election is over, but it's once it reaches that point, people need to come down to reality and realize that a politician is just going to crap in your hat. I mean, you have these individuals who are trying to bend over backwards, trying to defend Trump. And to see, the thing is, right now we're being distracted with so many things that this administration is throwing at us. There's talk of Canada and Greenland being part of our union. And there's also talk about what's going on with Politico and Reuters. Then there's all this other corruption. There's USAID, not USAIDs. I screwed that up in pronunciation of that. But nonetheless, you have everyone trying to make a defense of Trump when this is to be expected of these influencer people, because when you reach a point of having millions of subscribers and getting all the views and all the attention, then all of a sudden, once your guy's in charge, your values and views and your consistency will be called out. Look at us. We're post Duopoly, and in that we have that unique privilege of being consistent, of not being associated with either party, calling out both parties, calling out either side and their diehard cheerleaders, because it's just the same game, just a different color, either blue or red. So I think people need to wake up to this. And yes, the euphoria of Trump defeating Biden is one thing, but that's going to evaporate. And pretty soon, if things remain as they are, everyone's going to be talking about what's lying in store for 2028. And we can't go down that pathway again. Like, this BS has to stop. So I'm glad that we're out here calling out these people. But yes, are there snowflakes? Of course there are. But snowflakes melt. We're made out of we're made out of stronger material. How's that?
I like that. Snowflakes melt. That's good.
Yeah, snowflakes always melt.
Russ, I want to get your thoughts. We was discussing our initial reaction of the first few weeks of the Trump administration. To set you up and to advance the conversation here, we see Donald Trump be the Zionist own puppet we knew he would be.
Yeah.
The same way that Kamala Harris had an AIPAC handler husband, Trump showed his loyalty by marrying his daughter off to a Zionist. So and now he's all for like, you give your daughter away to a Zionist. And I heard, and again, beside the point, but I heard that Jared Kushner broke up with her because she wasn't Jewish, and then Trump played a big part of getting Kushner back. I'm like, what the fuck kind of cuck shit is this? He literally just. Anyway, Russ, I want your thoughts on Trump. This is Trump going after the ICC. He gave Israel, he bypassed Congress just like Biden. Gave him, I think it was $7 billion just before we went live. Russ, I'll pass to you, and then you can go after Russell.
Well, we knew that this is what he was going to do. And this is a big part of why, unlike a lot of people in the space, we never connected ourselves to Trump, and we're not rubbing the feet of his nominees now, saying, well, you know what? I've been screaming about genocide for a year and a half, but I kind of like Tulsi. So I'm rooting for Tulsi. That's just going to be a worse and worse look as this administration takes hold. This is a fascist takeover. I hate to use that word because, as with so many other things, the libs ruined it. They put the stink on the word. Like you say it has all these connotations. But what else do you call it? We just did a story the other day. This hasn't been getting a lot of coverage. Elon just told his Doge people not to use Slack because he's in the process of trying to move their communications under the executive branch so that they can't FOIA it. Does that look like transparency? He himself in the past tweeted out, you shouldn't even have to FOIA. Everything should be transparent. It's a little different now that he's on the inside. This is a fascist takeover of the government. The reason that it's happening is, okay, well, when Ilhan Omar and Raskin, when they go out there and say, do you want Elon Musk just making these decisions or your elected representatives? You know what? People voted for Trump because the answer is the former. You guys fucked up so bad that they were like, is this what you voted for? Yeah. This is what they voted for. They're like, look, shit's getting done. At the very least, it's a great show. You guys going crazy is worth the price of admission alone. They do not understand that.
Yeah, we genocided our way into fascism. I 100% agree. I've been loving this as a Marxist. Liberals are now going through some things, like I told you guys was. There are a lot of them that shouldn't far left. They're trying to understand what is happening. This is exactly what we told you guys is going to happen. When you have a capitalist system, the capitalists will inevitably become stronger than the government. When the capitalists become more powerful than the government, that's when you're on the road to true fascism. You see them do things and operate a central planning model that is based on elevating their profits above the social good. And my argument, this is why I kind of roll my eyes at some people, is like there's no difference between what's going on with Elon Musk and George Soros. And people will call you an anti-Semite. Remember, Democrats, they'll call you anti-Semite for branding the fact that George Soros funded last in 2022. He spent $128 million, and there's not even a close second, dude. Mm-hmm. So the only thing the Republicans did is they copied their strategy, the strategy of the Democratic Party. So AOC and Ilhan Omar and Bernie Sanders talking about oligarchy. Do you guys know that George Soros funds the Working Families Party? And the Working Family Party donates to AOC. So as AOC talking about billionaire-controlled government, your ass is funded by George Soros. And this is, we covered this a long time ago. But Keen, I want to get you in here.
Yeah, no, look, I mean, that's true. Just to pick up where you left off, that's absolutely true. And you know, unelected billionaires have run this government for decades now. Many decades now. I would argue you could argue that, you know, an unelected oligarchy has run this government since the founding of the country, right? So it's really nothing new in that sense. That's absolutely true. And that led to a degradation in people's investment in the democratic system, right? I mean, that's how fascism rises. If you read FDR's For Freedom speech, which was his inaugural address in 1941, he talks about how, you know, fascism rises when people sense that democracy is not invested in them, right? People don't invest in democracy for its own sake. They have to feel like democracy is making an investment in them. And once one side of that gives, the other side of it goes along with it fairly quickly, and that's where we are now. The one difference I would say, pardon me, regarding right now is that, you know, unlike, you know, Soros's control, which the Democrats and the liberals try to cover up and try to pretend isn't there, right? They try to pretend, well, this is how the sausage is made and it's complicated and blah, blah, blah. It's still one person, one vote. Here you have the especially fascistic element of a mob celebrating it and a mob trashing everyone who speaks out in opposition to it. And this is not to say that the Democrats are beyond ginning up a fascistic mob. I mean, during COVID, they did just that. They were talking about putting unvaccinated people in camps, right? They're talking about they should be able to go to work. So I'm not saying Democrats, I'm not saying Democrats don't engage in that. I'm just talking about, if we're talking about the here and now, yes, there is a mass mobilization of Hitler youth rallying around Elon Musk, championing this fascist takeover of the government. So if we're talking about what's going on right now, yeah, that's what's going on right now. Yeah, and just to put a final button on the influencer thing, it is funny how all these anti-Zionist influencers, I'm anti-Zionist and anti-Zionism, but, you know, the only way to have peace in that region is to kick all the Palestinians out and give Israel what they want. Yeah. But I'm anti-Zionist.
Yeah, what could go wrong with displacing so many people? What could go wrong with telling somebody, oh, hey, and by the way, you know, Keaton, I actually saw one of your live streams and how you talked about that one guy who lost his family, his kids, and then eventually he himself passed away. I mean, and you talked about you being a father, and you know,
he's still alive, but he's back at his home. Yeah.
But I mean, like, how is that anybody can look a man like that in the eye and say, "Oh, hey, guess what? You got to move. I don't care. Your kids are dead. I don't care. You got to go." Nobody is going to move. Like, no, this is where my family died. I'm going to die here too. Like, this is their rest.
No, you got to be a Nazi. That's why I said, congratulations, Donald Trump. You lived up to the moniker. Liberals have been calling you a Nazi all these years. You finally proved them right in the end, because only a Nazi would invite Benjamin Netanyahu to the White House, roll out the red carpet for him, and then grant him victory, which is what he did. And they could bullshit all they want about, well, it's a negotiation. It's not a negotiation. Netanyahu agreed to it. Netanyahu said it sounds like a remarkable plan. Whether they can implement it or not is another thing. Don't forget, Hitler couldn't implement his final solution. He got beat, right? Nazis usually lose, thank God, right? Mm-hmm. But the intention is very, very clear. And it is a Nazi intention.
Yeah, and this is, I want you guys to react to this headline. This is from the Jerusalem Post. Anti-Semites condemn Trump's relocation plan in refusal to
Yes.
So this is
God. That's so twisted. It took me a second to even understand the meaning of that.
It's okay. It's okay.
Like,
Because like your heart, your soul and your heart kind of die a little bit. It's like, well, gee, haven't these people suffered enough? And just another point out here, Democrats, thank you for the 15 months of being silent and rolling out the red carpet yourselves. Because while again, Nick, you brought the point that Trump rolled out the red carpet. That red carpet was already being rolled out thanks to the Biden-Harris administration and the Democrats. So for there are 15 months in which they could have done something and they didn't, we're now here at this point. So, and yet they're trying to do the guilt trip. Do Arab Americans feel guilty about voting third party or independent? Do you feel guilty? Like, no, I don't feel guilty supporting third parties and independents. I don't. Nobody should. But Democrats, hey, do you feel guilty for your inaction? Do you feel guilty that you let for 15 months this go down where all of us, Nick, Russell, Keaton, myself, we've been proven correct about your utter hypocrisy? That's I'm waiting for their apology, guys. You think we're gonna get that?
I think you'll be waiting a long time. I said on this show the other day, I'm watching people going along with all this, and I feel like I'm in one of those independent films about the rise of the Nazis in Berlin, something like Cabaret, where you see how gradually people who had been artists and journalists and scientists, eventually they wind up being complicit collaborators with the regime. Just one step leads to another step. So at the end of the day, if you were screaming for a year and a half, I'm not voting Biden-Harris, their position on Israel, but now you're getting all hot and bothered about RFK and Tulsi. Well, really, it was about the pronouns. I mean, at that point, you just have to admit it was just the pronoun. That was enough for you. That was real. It was never about Gaza and Palestine, because Trump is, I wouldn't say worse. I would say worse in optics, probably not worse in substance. But at the end of the day, if you feel like you can get behind this administration because you like some of the things they did, well, then what's the deal breaker? Okay, so pronouns. He's going to get rid of the woke stuff. Like, really, that was your vote. Like, that's your policy.
They'll have string quartets at the Kennedy Center again.
Right, yeah. They'll bring back realism in painting.
Yeah.
Yeah, based on what I've seen thus far, Trump has been way better for the resistance than Biden was. Like, look at the amount of resistance he's getting. Look, there's a segment I saw on CNN where they actually talk about the Nakba for the very first time. And Donald Trump, he receiving international condemnation by Arab nations, by even pro-Zionist nations, because unlike Biden and Anthony Blinken, who actually very crafty, they're great at achieving their goals of genocide on behalf of Israel. Donald Trump would never be able to pull this shit off. Period. So what they would say, "Oh, we got to have build a pier. We're gonna build a pier in Gaza because we care about humanitarian aid." As you have United States troops that help support an IDF raid that killed countless civilians. Did anyone cover it as a United States occupation or invasion of Gaza? No, because that's a way smarter way to sell the idea of the United States helping slaughter Gazans. And I don't like that word, Palestinians. That's the best way to come. But Trump, his dumb ass was like, "Hey man, I think we should take that shit for property."
Right. Yeah.
And the whole world is like, so that's what I mean when I say he's been way better, because he's so predictable. Like he exposes the naked barbaric sin of Zionism in the way that the neoliberal class, in such a evil but very shifty way, is able to convince people that, our policies in Israel is not that evil. We're doing it for humanitarian purposes. Right. We allow Israel to investigate themselves. No, I assure you that Israel is following human rights, as Israel is raping Palestinians to death, as they kidnapping and killing journalists. So in a way, we are seeing within this. I'm always saying this within the first 3 weeks of Trump's term, we're seeing the difference between the Democratic evil versus the Republican evil, and why Glenn Ford said Democrats are the most effective evil. Because I don't know if you guys have been paying attention, Trump has walked back his Gaza occupation bullshit, because that's why he's an amateur. He said the quiet part out loud instead of secretly crafting a plan like Lloyd Austin and Anthony Blinken do, and slowly win over the corporate media. He just says it out loud, and the plan is over. It's busted. They had to fucking go back to the drawing board. But do you guys agree with what I'm saying? Do you guys know what I'm saying? I'll pass to the panel for you to react.
There is an issue that does concern me, and that is while there is people, I'm glad that the pink pussy hat people found their marching shoes. But see, that's the issue with the resistance, because I am seeing the glorified parades, and again, I wish I came up with my friend Nick, who has Nick Thompson, who was a co-host for a few times for Hard Lens. He came up with the phrase, and these glorified parades in front of Trump Tower, people protesting. It's like, okay, they're going to be coming back again. And of course, you have Bernie Sanders and AOC and Warren doing their performative art. But it's important for us as independents, as post-duopoly, to break people away from just flocking into that traditional tactic of protest and then listening AOC and Bernie speak and talking about resistance, or even at that fake show that you saw at the Department of Education where you had all these congressmen and women right in front of them. If they cared about the Department of Education, and I mentioned this on my show, if they cared about it, they would have done what the South Korean MPs did and climb over the wall, do a Shawshank Redemption, climb through the sewers to go into that parliamentary building or wherever the hell and actually vote and do something, okay? Because at least in South Korea, those politicians stood up against martial law. What did our politicians do? They kept on berating and yelling at this security guard guy who's thinking he's not getting paid enough. If that's the resistance, we're screwed.
Well, okay, this is where it's the best of times and it's the worst of times.
Mm-hmm.
The liberals have destroyed the left. They have destroyed it. They have destroyed the public image of the left to such an extent that for any left movement to actually build support, you're going to have to spend a long time convincing people that you didn't come to the party with them, that you're not with the people who, went to storm the Bastille and stopped when they ran into a civil servant who told them they couldn't come inside. Oh, are you career? Yeah, me too. Yeah. Wow. That was quite a fiery demonstration. And they, even now, look, I make fun of it in terms of how people are aligning. But the fact is, Michael Parenti has spoken about this a lot. The more I've looked into it, the more I think he's right. And a lot of people have said it over the right. The stuff that's come to be termed woke, yes, incorrectly. They appropriated the phrase, but we all know what we're talking about. Yeah, it's a psyop, man. It was always a psyop to discredit and undermine the left in the public mind and amongst themselves and to keep them fighting. And I can see the results of it because I see people I know who are well-meaning. And even now, look, Trump just illegally fired 2 members of the NLRB, essentially rendering it impossible for it to function. And I don't see any libs, even now, saying shit about that. All they'll talk about is that they got rid of the various holidays and the history months and all of that. And okay, that's not really the main critique of what they're doing. That is how effective that psyop has been. They have no concept of what it is to be in opposition to right-wing fascism other than those identitarian signals and gestures. They have no concept of an economic class labor analysis at all. It's been wiped out of their mental landscape completely.
Yeah, that's why I've been saying that the role of the CIA-friendly left was to create a weak, ineffective resistance to the capitalist class. And the liberals are more than happy to throw an election to the right to increase the ratchet effect of bringing the country farther to the right. They're more than happy to job to them. They're the jobbers. Their job is to defeat the true left. The job of the liberal class, this is why they enable fascism, is to defeat the true left. You want to know what the liberal class was doing over the last few years? The Biden administration tried to lock up Chairman Amali of the Hoover 3.
Right.
So they wasn't fighting against the incoming fascist wave. They were trying to imprison the people who was opposing the Ukraine proxy war. The same way we see in Europe with Richard Medders, he being prosecuted for exposing the Israeli war. That's their true concern. And this is why I told people to leave the Democratic Party. The bullshit you see from DSA, CPUSA, the obsession with culture war, which is why I on this show countless times rejected culture wars on both sides. It's none of my damn business, period. And this is why I push Rokana on. I put a lot of people on because a lot of people in this fake left who advocated for voting for Kayla Kamala, their line in the sand is the trans issue. I'm like, so, and I'm very socially liberal in a lot of ways where I'm non-judgmental how people live their lives and all this stuff. But I started openly asking these questions. I asked Rokana this question, and no one can answer this. Like, why do you guys value the lives of trans people and gay people way more than poor people, way more than black people in Africa, way more than Palestinians? So you was willing to vote for an unhinged, anti-Palestinian racist who wouldn't even allow a Palestinian to speak at the DNC who was endorsing them because that's how much they hated Palestinians. But anti-Palestinian racism is okay, but God forbid someone is anti-gay. So I am against all things because we're smart enough to hold two thoughts in our brain at one time. But why do liberals elevate certain disadvantaged minority groups, I should say, higher than the others? And that
because they need that. They need that. How can you be a Wall Street owned left? If trans people did not exist, and I don't believe that, but if they didn't, they'd have to invent them. Because what else are you going to use to represent yourself as being different from the opposing faction if you have completely eliminated class analysis and economic causes as your brand? If that is something that you absolutely can't talk about, well, what do you mobilize people around? You have to get into increasingly arcane, niche, academic arguments and discussions about abstract theories of gender and race that the majority of people are, including people of those identities, are really not interested in at all. The idea that it was about caring about children, that was obviously false on the face of it. You got a quarter of children in this country are living in poverty. You're worried about children committing suicide. Do you know that children who grow up in poverty are almost 4 times more likely to commit suicide? Okay. So if that's really what you're concerned about, children and the health of children, why would you focus on this boutique niche issue and completely ignore the other? Because you bring this up, they'll always say we can walk and chew gum at the same time. I would always answer, but you don't.
The reason why it was fake because if we look at the height of cancel culture, 2016, 2020, the first term of Trump years, there was that wave of cancel culture and comedians and other people losing their jobs, and they were running off that euphoria, and in turn it was dying down during the Biden years, and they're hoping that they could reuse it again, but it's been played out. Like the idea of that being an effective tool has now been countered by the right, because overall the last 8 years in which liberals were using leftist ideology, as we have pointed out, they have effectively destroyed it and ruined a lot of its credibility, because they were able to use the cancel culture machine so much to now that very machine is being used against them. And anyone of that old group that was able to successfully make a name for themselves, again, during the first Trump years, the first Trump term, a lot of these vote blue no matter who people should be kissing the ground for Trump, because he was their biggest job producer, because without him, they would not be able to even do even half of what they did during those 4 years of 2016 through 2020. So it is interesting to see them try to use the same method again. But now when there is real talk of talking about social issues, economic issues, we're forever tarnished with what the liberals and a lot of the higher echelons of vote blue no matter who people have done to ruin any kind of real counter argument. So it's sort of like we're heading back to square one.
They not only lost the argument that they were making, which to a large extent was always a grift to fundraise for their NGOs. They not only lost that argument, they set us back because of what you're saying. They put such a tarnish on things like gay rights that had been pretty settled. that most people, even Republicans, were cool with. Now you say that, and they think of the cancel culture people. They think of this whole thing that they hate. They set these movements back decades with their greed.
And this is why they lose, and this is why Democrats are struggling to be an effective opposition, because you can't fight fascism without class struggle. Right. You can't fight fascism using the culture war. And I would love to get your guys' thoughts on this. And since the topic right now, I want to talk about this earlier, so this is a great transition, like the ineffective resistance of the Democratic Party right now in the face of, like, I've been destroying Trump, destroying MAGA. Like, to me, it's easy to expose these people, but they're struggling because they're trying to fight a fascist using culture war instead of class struggle. And another thing they're doing, I pass to the panel for your guys' thoughts, and this is the flaw with liberalism, is that they worship institutions, not people. They care about upholding institutions, not the quality of life for the working class. So how are they attacking Trump? They're attacking Trump defending institutions. They say, "Oh, we got to
like USAID."
USAID. You know exactly where I'm going with this. They defending the FBI, the CIA, USAID. So Russell, I'll pass to you, and I would love to hear your guys' thoughts.
Yeah, when you see the DNC chair race, that is a really good example of, I might want to cover this Sunday. So Target is getting sued now by their shareholders, and the basis of the lawsuit, I definitely would draw a parallel to a lot of the observations I've seen about that DNC chair race. They're suing on the grounds that the board of directors misrepresented DEI and what it would do for their bottom line, arguing they were told that the left was on board with these programs and they'd boost their profile and their credibility with a lot of consumers. And they're arguing this was always serving a small number of organizations that were telling the board what to do and how to run the company. And they completely misrepresented the risks of bringing the company in line with what these organizations wanted. And that's very much the same thing you're seeing. Believe it or not, this is probably the only time on this show we'll ever mention anything this man put to paper in a favorable way. Jonathan Chait actually wrote a pretty sensible article about the DNC chair race. And he said, this is the result. He said exactly the same thing as the lawsuit against Target says. This is the result of the party being taken over by this small group of niche NGO activist groups that make their money off infiltrating companies, infiltrating studios, infiltrating political parties, and fundraising off the grift. They never represented people. They never represented people. When at the height of the power of this stuff in the culture, when you talk to the average person, they were like, yeah, I hate that shit. I hate it. God, man, I can't. I would always, as like an artist speaking out about that, I would get from my friends in the arts, I'd get these secret messages. They'd be like, God, man, I wish I could say something. I wish I could speak out. How was that going to end? But as Parenti points out, that was always the purpose of it. That was always the purpose, to make people think that's what leftism is. And as a result, to go hard right.
And in turn, if you also look at really what happened to the entertainment too, the entire Hollywood media apparatus, like look what's happened to Disney Plus.
Just hollowed it out.
I mean, I've never seen a Hollywood studio turn golden gooses like Marvel and Star Wars.
Right. How do you lose? It's a gimmick.
Stuff that could crap money for forever. And now all they're doing is putting out nothing but goose shite. I mean, I know.
The power of many.
Russell, you are a man I call a friend, but if you do that again, I must cancel our friendship.
Fair enough.
I love you, but don't do that again.
I'm going to just read a few super chats so we don't get too buried here. I appreciate all the support, guys. I want to discuss USAID. You guys say, I've been having a great time covering this. We're going to talk about how USAID has been funding propaganda, neoliberal pro-war propaganda throughout the world. And you guys will be surprised at some of the quote-unquote independent journalists who got funding from USAID, which is why you should watch Post Duopoly show on our network here. Heartless Media, Do Dissidence, true independent media. I saw a headline today where it was like, independent media is now in a collapse after USAID funding. I'm like, if your journalism relies on the United States government, it's not independent. But we cover that here very soon. I'm going to read a few super chats. Thank for the 999 John. What should be the goal of a new Workers' Party be? A Nordic model of social democracy, or Jesus Christ, or a Chinese model of state socialism? John always asks these questions that like a whole other segment on itself. I'll take this on for a quick second because I've been thinking about this a lot. You guys understand?
Good question.
Socialism and revolution will show itself and reveal itself based on the material reality that you're currently living in. So everyone's revolution and path to socialism will inherently be different, which is why in China, they have communism with Chinese characteristics. You know what I mean? That's why in Korea, they have Jusei ideology, which is more militaristic because it required them to be more militaristic because they had an empire coming after them. So there's different ways where your socialism will manifest itself. We live in probably the strongest military of all time, a violent, very well-armed society. So violent armed revolution is not on the table anytime soon. That's just the reality of the situation. We got to be scientific.
I mean, they won't even give Shama her passport, so we're a pretty long ways off from violent revolution.
Socialism with cheese whiz features,
right.
I think, for America.
There you go. Yeah.
So and this is something that will take like round tables and much discussion with other theory reading communists to discuss. But my vision on how to seize the means of production in the United States, at least to start, we have to start with the healthcare industry and we have to destroy the police state. So we're not going to immediately overthrow the capitalist class in the most powerful capitalist nation that we ever seen, highly militarized. So we got to start dismantling their institutions first. We seize healthcare, seize the means of healthcare, seize the means of energy production, seize the police state so they have no way to defend. Like these are things that we would have to accomplish on the road to armed revolution, because there will be a certain point where they say, all right, we got to kill you, motherfucker. You got to do it too much. So we got to be ready when they hit that point. But in the meantime, we got to chip away at capitalist power. I had to do a whole live stream on that. I think it's an interesting question. But for the sake of time, hopefully that's a entertaining answer for you guys. But we got to approach revolution differently than almost anyone else ever have, because we are going up against a monster. And that's just my calculations. There's going to be a lot of people who disagree with me. I think we got to target the most important capitalist institution for the working classes first. Seize the means of information control. We gotta destroy. We gotta run journalism. Take over education. You know how capitalists fear that we're gonna indoctrinate the children. Well, we kind of have to. that kind of shit we gotta seize. You know what I mean? But that's a conversation for another day. I don't want to keep us too long. Anyone else want to add anything before I move on to the other super chats?
Well, I would just say, part of what's freeing about this moment is we are unburdened with the task of having to win a big election anytime soon. Like, we're not going to win a national election. So what that does is it kind of frees you up in a sense of, you don't have to worry, hey, is this idea broadly popular, with 50% of people? Are we going to lose Michigan if we're too militant, right? Like, we don't have to worry about that, because we're not going to win Michigan, right? The next president is either going to be a Democrat or a Republican, and they are going to be an enemy of what we're trying to do. So we don't need a majority on board. What we need are, and this is what, I think Workers Strike Back and organizations like it are going to hopefully really help to organize. We need a critical mass of, a few dozen million people, 20, 30, 40 million people, to organize massive work stoppages and militant labor actions and strikes, and forcing the system to bend to our will, no matter who presides over it. Donald Trump gave the longshoremen a win on their AI demands. They were going to get automated out of jobs, and he intervened for them, not because he's pro-labor, but because he needs the country to run. And so an organized workforce of 30 million people who are willing to strike is very, very powerful. And we don't have to worry broadly speaking, about how certain ideas are going to play with the masses. Fuck the masses. Fuck the masses. It doesn't matter. We don't need 200 million people on our side. We need 30. We need 30 who are willing to stop working until our demands are met.
Yeah, this is a good question, John. This is a topic I find very interesting. This is a whole roundtable on its own. Like maybe I need to invite Q and so, because I'm not saying I'm right. There's a lot of different. We got to theorize what's the best way to implement true socialism. That's a real question. Let me read a few more and then we move on.
I think I would just say, without getting into it in too elaborate a manner, what we're facing, the kind of consolidation of power and capital and information and technology that we're dealing with, I don't think a Nordic model is on the table.
I agree.
You can't reform this. It can't be reformed that way. It can only be overthrown. So I feel like at this point, and probably of the panel, I'm the most skeptical of the success of highly centralized kind of government or state socialist projects. But tactically, I got to say, whatever you think the outcome might be or how you have to negotiate the outcome, you're not going to overthrow this with a Nordic approach. My communist friends will always say, and this is something I cannot disagree with, they're the only ones who ever beat their capitalist class. You can't argue with that. They're the only ones who ever got the Jeff Bezos people, and I won't say anything that'll get you pulled off the air, but they took care of them.
I'll just say this for people who still have some form of capitalist realism that feel like this system will never leave. Systems are born. The most predictable thing that exists is a system will fall and collapse. The contradiction of capitalism will fall, it will collapse. The pressure will continue to rise.
Will it though, Nick?
No, just listen. I'm gonna get there. I'm gonna get there, Russ.
All right.
What we argue is that once the temperature rise, once the boiling point reaches tipping point, which historically has shown to happen throughout all empires, throughout all societies, many rebellions are crushed, but this is the most predictable thing in human history, is the ruling class screwing over the working class, temperature rising, people getting upset. What we want to do is guide the people to the right place once the temperature boils, because at that point they either reach fascism or they go to socialism. The majority of time in human history, whenever the boiling point reached, it was crushed by the empire. Or whenever they wasn't successful overthrowing stuff, Go ahead, kid.
Again, because this is a whole other conversation altogether. But the whole idea of nations becoming empires is that it's a violent phenomenon that ends violently. I mean, there's been very few points, and again, like, I'm willing to bet there's gonna be so many people will be writing in the comment section like, well, empires don't all fall. I mean, you could look at China. They just renamed themselves at each time a dynasty or a government did fall in their own way. China's still here. And then of course you could argue about the British Empire as well, but all empires do rise, they do fall. There's never a restoration point. I mean, there's a beginning, middle, and end. And despite how long the Mongol Empire or Roman Empire have lasted, I mean, like all of them and anything else that came before them or in between them, they've all had their time in the sun. And whether or not something like this can be reformed or saved, it's going up against the very aspect of human nature, and that is we do move on, like in a broken relationship, to find something new. And hopefully this time we get it right. But how many times can we get it right before we don't nuke ourselves into oblivion? So there is the urgent need of reform, and either that rebuilding something better for humanity to survive so that we can thrive and expand beyond this planet. I mean, that's the whole other conversation too. But there is the issue of our primal instincts and how we are and how nations that have came before us rise and fall. It is inevitable, and it's not to be all grimdark, but I don't know how we could save a sinking ship without us also acknowledging the elephant in the room, and that is humanity.
Go ahead, Russell.
I think, for one thing, we've already collapsed into fascism. So
we've already been here.
It's not we might go to fascism. We're there.
That's fair.
So now you're fighting fascism already. You're already in it. You, with what we're talking about, we've never really experienced this. They kind of got a taste of it in the 60s. The last time the system really felt threatened, what did they do, man? They did COINTELPRO, man. They just infiltrated them and destroyed their movements and blackmailed people and assassinated people. And, man, like, what do you think? We organize what Keaton is talking about. Some of us ain't going to end up in a river. Come on, man. Like, this is what we're facing. This is what we're looking at. And besides that, yeah, historical cycles, I think, are eternal. At the same time, you do have to recognize there has never been a civilization this technologically advanced before. There has never been the capacity for control of massive populations that the oligarchs have at their disposal today. So can you say that normal cycle, even if the United States as a particular point of power collapses, is that system so qualitatively different from anything that's come before that in the end, even that collapse doesn't restore your freedom?
Yeah, I would say this, man. The Cold War generation of the ruling class that decided to wage a global class war to fight and destroy socialism, McCarthy was onto something. Like, that communist Red Scare was the most brilliant move the ruling classes did, because it slowed the advancement of socialism in America. So to your point, Russell, we got to the fascism point and said socialism because the ruling class beat socialism back much during the Cold War. But we can have this conversation, this very entertaining conversation all day. I'm gonna give a few more super chats and I'm gonna cover USAID as well. Very thought provoking. A big shout out to
USAID. That's what I call it.
Dude, they such pieces of shit because they call it USAID, so people would think it's all about aid when it's actually the United States Agency for International Development. Because you know what I mean? Most people would assume that it's just USAID. No, it's all about international development.
Well, that's how they're trying to cast it in every corporate media article about it.
Yeah, so let's get right into it.
Well, oddly enough, that's also how Elon is trying to cast it. Hedges had a good article that touched on this that just came out, I think, today, where he said, Elon and the people going after USAID are doing so, framing it as this woke global charity, which it's not. It's not. Right. It's an arm of the empire. Right? So it's not. I mean, the Democrats are propping it up as a woke global charity as if it's a good thing. Elon is trashing it as a woke global tragedy as if that's a bad thing. It's really not that thing at all.
And nobody wants to talk about what it actually is.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's what I said when Trump's press secretary went out there to talk about it, because you have all these lefties who actually know what the fuck they're talking about saying, yeah, finally they're taking down USAID. She goes out there. She's not talking about overthrowing governments and sterilizing women. She's talking about transgender dance troops in Romania.
Right.
That's what, she doesn't want to draw attention to what the organization was really doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you guys know, and it's so disgusting to see the dumb progressives like unapologetically defending USAID. You guys know that USAID set up fake aid clinics in Africa, and then they pay people a no-show salary to be full-time protesters. So there's a wave of people in Africa. I'll pass it right to you, Kit. There's a wave of people in Africa who are distrustful of aid medical treatments because they tie aid medical treatments to U.S. imperialism. And there are people who are anti-vax in Africa. That's the worst thing you can be in liberal culture is anti-vax. There are people who are anti-vax because they see vaccine efforts used as a tool of U.S. imperialism, which led to distrust of the medical industry. And that's horrible depending on your perspective, right? But, Kit, I know you want to chime in, but there's so many layers of awful of USAID. I could spend an hour alone dismantling, but go ahead, Kit.
Think about how many times we saw President Bush Sr., Bush Jr., Bill Clinton, all of them constantly talk about, we're doing all this aid relief in all these other countries. We're building wells and schools. How many decades has it been that you've been building wells and schools? You think, my God, you do it all already and problem solved. But why do you got to keep on building a well? Why do you got to keep on building a school? It's because that's the name of it. It's about getting money. It's about doing the no-show jobs. I mean, Tony Soprano is blushing with envy right now because he wishes he could do something like that. There's so many criminal elements that would be loving to get on that gig because of how in-depth it is for people to just get rich and keep on the process over and over again. This is the same U.S. ID or AIDS, as I like to call it, who wants to also put out the idea of even promoting these media outlets like Reuters or Politico, for example, that were cheering for censorship. And, I just find it fascinating. And, maybe I'll give it to the floor on this one. But, guys, did Politico pay its workers yet? Because, you'd expect a credible news agency to pay its people and then do a note to people saying, yeah, right now we're a subject of talk on X. Why are you a subject of talk on X? I'm very curious, not about the subscriptions, but did you pay your people and did you lose your gravy train? I mean, that's a lot of money that you guys lost. And then in turn, maybe I'm overthinking this, gentlemen. Please correct me. But when you have people like Vosh start saying, uh-oh, I might get censored or might get deplatformed. Did he lose his big daddy government check too? Did BreadTube finally become moldy bread? I'm just wondering, gentlemen. Am I wrong? Please correct the record.
It is interesting that Vosh panicked about his funding and being censored the second that USAID stopped funding the journalists. Samantha Power, the USAID head under Biden, you guys know, and she's been doing a media tour, and she'd be doing this thing like, oh my gosh, gotta let you guys know, it's very important that we feed the kids, but also Russia and China. You guys know that Samantha Power, she wrote a book. Right. She wrote a book explaining how you use aid in liberal social justice issues as a way to topple unfriendly empires to the United States. She wrote an entire book about it. And then she goes on media tours, and then she pretends that USAID is all about the aid. USAID has spent money, and this is what the right attacking them on like these, we call it rainbow imperialism. Rainbow imperialism, and once again, all the conspiracy theories was right. They was literally paying people to promote LGBTQ values in socially conservative countries, not in expectation that they will be successful, but they wanted to create social unrest.
Right. So the Gray Zone just put a piece out on that. Yeah.
Did they?
Yeah. Apparently, they funded some sort of trans thing because they felt like they were, that would create social unrest. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's the same thing they've done here. They're just doing it there. I mean, it's the same shit.
They're doing it everywhere.
Why the fuck do you think that at first when we started the show, I was naive about these things. And a lot of people kept telling me when I talked about it, like, yo, that shit's an op, Russ. That shit's an op. And I started looking into it. I was like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense because I was naive enough. I always thought it was just kind of an organic outgrowth of liberal culture looking for a new thing to shock and outrage with. And that's certainly the impulse that they work with to push those things. But I didn't realize, nah, man, there's a puppet master behind that. Like these ideas, a lot of these ideas just would not naturally occur to people.
Yeah,
you have to push it on them.
Yeah, it says Republican. So it was a Republican aligned group. This is why it reads article, not Max's, but why did Republicans fund transgender dance in Bangladesh? And the idea is that, yes, they thought they were the most, they were the most reliable rabble rousers.
Yeah, and to Russell's point, it's like when you look back on it, it was an obvious op, and it was very smart because they took advantage of the very, I think, positive instinct of us to support people who are going through discrimination.
Exactly.
But it was very unnatural, and I'll pass right to you, but it was very unnatural because remember, Barack Obama, he was against gay marriage. We went from literally a Democrat, remember the quote unquote most progressive Democrat of all time, being against gay marriage to all of a sudden rainbows everywhere, pride marches everywhere. That's how, that was like the first tale that was not organic because it was an unnatural shift. It was a shift
Right. It
forward
didn't
by
make
the ruling
sense.
class
Right.
when the social, when the populace wasn't ready for the shit that the ruling. Does that make sense? Go ahead. Does that make sense to you guys? The ruling class forced a change that the people wasn't ready for. That was the number one tell that it was being driven by the ruling class to push rainbow imperialism to convince gay people to vote against their interest, to get to convince gay working class people.
They were mostly for Hillary.
Yeah. And again, you know, when you have people who are suckered into believing, you know, all this propaganda, it's hard to deprogram people because they're so used to, oh, well, that other side is my enemy, so I have to hate them. And if you're not with either, then you're worse, or by proxy, you're with my enemy, so thus I can never collaborate and work with you. And how many friendships have we lost because of all the stuff that we are witnessing here now, which we were saying that corporate media and media outlets are being influenced by the powers that be, by the people who buy our politicians, and it's all part of the game. And I think it's going to put people in a really effed up place mentally and emotionally and psychologically, because now all this stuff is being revealed and they have to come to terms with the fact that they were tricked. And they went with it hook, line, and sinker. And the thing is, when somebody gets scammed, or when somebody is part of or loses their money or whatever, it's hard for them to really admit it, because it's like, oh, was I dumb enough to believe that? And you know, I said before in the show in 2020, look, I supported Bernie Sanders. I kind of believed in the idea of reforming the Democrat Party, and guess what? I got to carry that L. And thankfully, you know, I was like, okay, well, there's no point of reforming the Democrats or supporting Bernie. If they're not going to fight, well, then screw it. And if people call me out, I'll be like, okay, yeah, that's right, guys. I was dumb enough to believe that. Not a lot of people can have that emotional maturity to say, I was wrong. I made a mistake. Let's try and not fall for this trap again. And the other group of people I feel sorry for are the writers for Black Mirror. How the hell can you even write a TV show with everything that's happening out here? That's another group. Hashtag help the writers of Black Mirror.
You know what I keep thinking of? And it's ironic. So, you know, J.K. Rowling became this, you know, infamous figure in the trans debate. But she was basically, until all that blew up, she was a very beloved lib. Like, she was a very typical lib. And there's footage of this where she came out and gave her big announcement that Dumbledore was gay. Now, I have no way of knowing this, but I would almost guarantee you that she had never really thought about what the sexuality of her wizard archetype character going back thousands of years was. That archetype is generally kind of an asexual archetype, because it's usually an elderly man, generally, that you're going to use for that kind of a character. I'm sure she had never thought about it. But as a good lib, she went out there and was, you know, she wanted to give that to people. Yes, Dumbledore is gay. And this crowd of mostly young people goes wild. That's the fucking psyop. That's the psyop. Why do you care if a fictional archetype is gay? Why do you care about that? What if she came out there and said, you know what? Dumbledore is poor. You know, that kind of a reaction.
He's a broke wizard.
He's a broke wizard.
Hey, give me $10.
Dumbledore is a Maoist. You know?
and that's why socialism was so behind in the United States, because what you could call a left, the left that existed in the United States, I'm being very friendly here. The left that existed in the United States, they made a mistake in falling for and defending liberals during these culture war exchanges. Instead of doing what we're doing now, what the new age socialists do now, where we look at liberals and we attack them for their stupid social culture war issues too. But we don't do it on MAGA's terms. Like, I attack everyone for their stupid culture wars and their hypocrisies. We have to show the working class that we're not playing along with this bullshit. And the problem with the U.S. left is they were like, oh yeah, we disagree with liberals on material realities and imperialism, but we're gonna side with them on culture war issues, which made the socialists and the left movement seem like they was in bed with liberalism, which was a giant mistake.
Exactly.
A giant. So that's why you guys see me. I aggressively call out Ro Khanna for hypocrisy on why he cared about Ukrainians and gay people, but he don't care about Palestinians. You know what I mean? And it's an uncomfortable conversation to have. You know what I mean? I like gay people. I'm very friendly with gay people. We got gay comrades are RBN. But I have to call it out. Like there's like a fucking rank on who lives matter the most, and something that people was quiet about. But to get back to the main topic, because we're gonna get the super chats here soon. I know Kian probably had to get out soon. But here's Evo Morales, who once again has another take that aged like wine. Here's 2013, where he decided to expel USAID, and this is another trick that liberals would use, and it's infuriating when you realize it. Where you have socialist leaders who rejected U.S. sovereignty over them. They would reject USAID and kick USAID out because they would catch them doing imperialist shit. Then people like Bernie Sanders and liberal imperialists would then turn around and say, oh, this is why Evo Morales is a tyrant. Don't you know he kicked out U.S. aid? Isn't that evidence that he's a tyrant? And then liberals and bullshit progressives, they will believe it. Like, oh, Nicolas Maduro, he must be a tyrant because he kicked out, he's not allowing U.S. aid in. Evo Morales, he's not allowing U.S. aid in. You guys see how the name plays a propaganda? Right. So if you say Evo Morales is not allowing the United States Development, United States Agency for International Development in, you're like, yeah, of course he wouldn't let that in. But if you say that Evo Morales is not letting U.S. aid in, whoo, that sounds bad, doesn't it? Here is Evo Morales. I think this is another language.
Hemos decidido expulsar a USAID de Bolivia.
This isn't him saying we're expelling USAID as an imperialist agency, and they attack people for that. And this is a pattern that the global South realized, that USA was being used as a tool of imperialism. And isn't it hilarious how everything the empires say about China is pure projection? Because they say that China only builds infrastructure in Africa for imperialist advantage as a way to flex their influence. Meanwhile, you have Democrats that go on CNN, not RBN, they outright saying, oh yeah, we're doing this so we can control so we can flex United States influence. But then we mentioned this a few times earlier. I want to pivot to this point because this is the funniest part of the USAID thing. Is how independent journalism in the West has been completely exposed. And this answers our question that we have for a long time, or we've been thinking for a long time. How the hell are political journalists staying afloat? Like, they get less people who read the articles than we do on an average clip on our channel. So they have no audience. So I know you guys been wondering this. Kit, you've been wondering this. How are these people staying afloat when no one read their shit?
Right,
they got themselves a sugar baby, sugar daddies.
Yeah,
they got themselves sugar daddies.
Have sources of funding. Yeah.
These same people have. I'll pass right to the panel. These people have the nerve to call us. You know how many times I've been called a Putin puppet? An agent of Putin. You know how many times I've been called agent of Xi Jinping over the years because my tanky ass takes. Meanwhile, they are on the United States payroll. So that's why I've been having a lot of fun with this. And you want to know who was on the payroll? That someone who I've been calling out for a while. The Clippers.
Ken!
Yeah.
You bring shame to three-letter names. Take the name tennis back, Ken.
I didn't want to mention it in case I was wrong, because some of these things that people put up there are not real. So I wasn't going to mention it in case it wasn't that. But yeah, Klippenstein and apparently Ryan Grimm too.
Really? Yeah, now you guys see why Ken Klippenboy.
What's it?
Well, I've been calling out for days. Like, I've been so justified calling out Ian Carroll, Ken Klippenstein, all these people. Now you guys see why Ken Klippenstein say stupid shit like this? Mm-hmm. There's nothing to get. Hamas doesn't care about ordinary Gazans. They're not Palestinians, they're Gazans. You guys know I told you I hate that term. Mm-hmm. They use Gazans as a way to erase Palestinians. You guys realize.
By the way, Nick, just to add a little bit more onto this, these are the same people who would call all of us in independent media grifters, and see, they were projecting because they knew that they were grifting. They knew deep in their souls that they never could build anything authentic. What we have done.
He's been reporting on Luigi. I wonder if Luigi is backed by USAID.
Yeah, man.
USAID. Is Luigi on a payroll too?
No, this is what we've always said. The idea, to me, the biggest insult, if you call us grifters, is you're saying we're too stupid to grift right. Because this is not the way to grift. You want to grift, we get it. We get it. Start hitting all the State Department party line kind of shit. and then you get paid. That was always obvious to us. That somebody
right. Then we'll get calls. Then we'll get calls from USAID to give us the real money. Instead, we get calls from fucking CBD companies asking us to read their.
Man. Or
if I wanted to grip, you know how easy it would be. All I would do is start a YouTube channel, make a video that explain how black people and Jewish people are long-standing allies, and why black Americans should support the Jewish state known as Israel. Don't you guys know that Israelis are fighting for black people? If I said something like that, bro, I'll be skyrocketing through the algorithm. If I had a video that say, "Oh my God, I think Donald Trump is fighting for black people. Why black people should embrace the MAGA movement." Well, I would have 500,000 subscribers the next day.
Okay, first of all, I love the audience. Like Dan Bird says, you guys are the biggest grifters around. Y'all got 3 Lamborghinis each and 4 summer homes. You lying jerks. Cat says the brokest grifters on YouTube. Yeah, why would I help you? You're a broke grifter. Screw off. And then hold on. Mousif writes, just waiting to hear about Breaking Points had about 20,000 US 8 subs. I mean, if that's the case, I don't know if that's true.
Did they?
I don't know.
Well,
I don't know. I don't know if that is.
I mean, that makes sense though. They're in their ideological lane. But since you mentioned Breaking Points, we were just talking about this. Like, okay, so what are shows in that lane gonna do now? Like the Democrats are a laughing stock. And they really can't play the MAGA, but I not really grift. That's too far out of their lane. No. Now Kyle has really been playing up the 2028 race and how Jon Stewart and Stephen A. Smith should run.
Yeah,
right. He's really trying to make that like the conversation now for content.
Dude, Stephen A. Smith is going for it, guys. I don't know if you noticed. Someone showed Stephen A. Smith his internal polling, where he had 2%. Mm-hmm. Now he's like going on these media tours. He gave this speech how he's gonna fight for gay and LGBTQ people. I'm like, oh no, he actually doing it. I don't have it saying. I wasn't planning on talking about it, but dude, Stephen A. Smith is straight up, and I can see Democrats nominating him. I 100% can see that.
Is he gay? Is Smith gay, or he was just?
Oh no!
Why are you asking that question, Russell? You want to get canceled?
I'm pretty sure he's not. I'm pretty sure Stephen A. is. He does not seem like the married with children type. Let me just say that. Here's Vladimir Putin being correct once again. This is during the god awful, according to the corporate media, the worst thing that ever happened in the history of journalism. Someone interviewed Vladimir Putin. I'm gonna let the video play because Putin knows what was going on. Everyone knows what's going on. This is when the Western media called Putin a propagandist. They said he was a liar for saying that the United States run propaganda around the world, and he is vindicated. So let me play this clip and I'll give you guys a reaction.
I mean, that's the biggest act of industrial terrorism ever, and it's the largest emission of CO2 in history. Okay, so if you had evidence, and presumably given your security services, your intel services, you would, that NATO, the US, CIA, the West did this, why wouldn't you present it and win a propaganda victory?
In the war of propaganda, it is very difficult to defeat the United States because the United States controls all the world's media and many European media. The ultimate beneficiary of the biggest European media are American financial institutions. Don't you know that? So it is possible to get involved in this work, but it is cost prohibitive, so to speak. We can simply shine the spotlight on our sources of information, and we will not achieve results. It is clear to the whole world what happened, and even American analysts talk about it directly.
Confused. I mean, that's an interesting contrast because if you have been on Red Note, like I have, and I've been reporting on Red Note, one thing is 100% clear when you're on there, especially as a communist. You realize that the Chinese Communist Party, China, is very bad at propaganda. They don't spend a lot of time on it. That's why there are a lot of people in China who believe that Americans are living like kings. So when Americans went to Red Note and they explained how they were living paycheck to paycheck, people in China were legitimately shocked. Like if you was on Red Note, it wasn't like some they were like, oh my God, what? They confused when they learned that Americans were living awfully. Why is that the case? Because China, unlike the United States, don't spend all their fucking money spreading propaganda. They are too focused building and increasing the quality of life for their people. So what America is doing, they're spending 1% of their budget on USAID in order to spread pro-American propaganda instead of taking care of their people. So Americans, while they have no health care and they broke as shit, they can say all the propaganda about they believe in anti-China shit. They believe in anti-North Korean shit because the United States invests in propaganda while China does not. And if you don't believe me, go on Red Note. There are people on Red Note. I've seen a few about Red Notes, tweets, I don't know what they call it. I've seen a few of them where Chinese people are saying that Americans was going on Red Note and exaggerating the pain that Americans are feeling for likes. So they don't believe us. They're like, what do you mean there are people that pay thousands of dollars for a paramedic? Y'all, you motherfuckers must be lying for likes. That's how bad the Chinese infrastructure compared to ours. But what are your guys' thoughts?
Well, the thing is, like, if we look at China, I mean, their social media is a little bit different. I mean, they got the equivalent to Twitter or a few other things there as well. I mean, there's got to be people that do know, but how much of our problems are really a major issue for the people in China? Because I'm pretty sure they got their fair share of issues. But once you break down the wall and once people are able to speak and communicate with each other, I think the horror of our healthcare and our infrastructure, the fact we don't have clean drinking water or, clean environments or everything is so corrupt. It is a shock to where people can say, how come you guys didn't stand up to this? How come you guys are letting this happen? Why are you letting this happen? And I guess it's abundantly clear to what people will come to realize, and that is we have been whipped for generations, all of us, to be subservient, to accept things for the way they are. And I think that's a shock to a lot of people in different countries, to where it's like that. Why wouldn't you stand up? What's wrong with you people?
It's not China, but when I went a little over a year ago, when I went to Italy and Greece, I was gone for a month. And when I came back, this was the perfect way to come back to America. I'm waiting for the train because I'm not paying $80 from the airport. That's what they charge now.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
To go from the airport to Manhattan. So I'm waiting for the train at 2:00 in the morning with two French girls, and door opens to the train to get on. They turn around, they get right back off. I'm like, what the fuck? I get on. It's a homeless woman naked from the waist down on the train.
Okay.
On the way back on the bus, there's a bunch of people just mentally ill talking to themselves.
Yeah.
And I realize, yeah, man, you're so used to this shit that, I mean, obviously the naked woman, that's extreme. But the people just talking to themselves, yeah, man, I'm used to it. I tune it out. For about a week or two, I was aware of it because I got out of it for a second. Yeah, but then you go back in it, it just becomes normalized to you. You just start to treat that like people. You hardly see homeless people there. A little bit, man, but almost never. Almost never.
It is an issue. And the thing is, like, I had that same kind of feeling too when I came back from Japan before the lockdowns happened in 2020. I mean, Japan's got public restrooms that are very clean, very organized, and its subway system absolutely superior, and everything about it was a big culture shock for me because I was there for 5 weeks, and then coming back to Chicago and seeing our train system, and I came back like around early in the morning, around 4:00 in the morning or something like that. And I just
from Japan.
From Japan. Yeah, which wasn't a lot of fun on the Chicago CTA because I had to take the train, the Blue Line, all the way back home. And that wasn't a lot of fun to deal with. And I was just in absolute horror of just how everything was being presented to us. And what I was used to, and I never really paid attention to, everything was just sad in comparison. It was like you're in a fantasy land and you're getting like these fine meals, great treatment. Then you come back and it's like, oh, here's your gruel and here's your warm bottle of water. Shut up and enjoy it.
Right. And you're fucking and in Japan, they won't let you put the shit in the food.
No,
that they have here.
No,
so, welcome back to your corn syrup and your formaldehyde.
I miss Japan so much, man. It was like I literally, like, when I got home, as soon as I got home, I literally cried in my bed. I was like, I miss it already.
No, that's what you realize. You travel even to places that aren't necessarily wealthy, and America's just a fucking shithole. I mean, of industrialized nations, It's a shithole. I said when I went out, I hadn't been to L.A. in 21 years. When I went out to guest host for Jimmy about a year ago, right now, I was out there. And I said to Jimmy, "Listen, man, I'm not going to say it's like India. It's more like India than it is like Europe. I would say that." It's more like a third world country than an advanced industrialized nation.
Yeah. I'm gonna read some super chats, and we're gonna wrap up here very soon. Let's see how far we can get to these super chats. Always very thought provoking. Let's start from the bottom. Thanks for 999 Noah. Appreciate the super chat, the very generous super chat. Give a W for Noah in the chat. All your channels keep me sane. Free Palestine.
As we should.
Absolutely. Free Palestine, Rome, and Luigi. Dude, they really about to fucking kill this Luigi guy, who I still don't believe did it. They would have some like ritualistic killing for this guy.
Yeah, no, he didn't do it.
And that's True Detective season 1. True Detective season 1. There's only one season. There you go.
And I have good news coming soon. I'm still very nervous to say anything about this yet, but I have great news on Rome. I've been itching at the bit. I've been itching at the bit to talk about this, but I've been waiting to Rome. I've been waiting to even be cheered. But they had some fucking trumped up charges against Rome. So what happens is when you do community work, when you do stuff like Rome does, build benches, build libraries, the police, they start fucking with you. And they try to charge them and put them in prison for 10 years for making terroristic threats because he had an argument with a cop. So they knew that was trumped up charges. So we got good news coming on that soon. He should be released soon. I don't have an exact date, but he's not. Anyway, it was bullshit. It's literally crazy, like how they was targeting him. And they anyway. So I have good news on that. Let's move on. They were $2. Kyle lost his USAID.
Oh no, how's his hair gonna get blonde now? My goodness, that stuff ain't cheap, you know.
Dude, there are a lot of like anti-China propagandists that are panicking, saying that, oh, you guys don't actually know. Researching the lies of the Chinese Communist Party is very expensive. Essentially, you're a paid propagandist. And there are a lot of people who were spreading empire lies. And that should be infuriating to people that our taxpayer money was spent to spread global pro-war propaganda. How's that not a massive scandal? Then for $5, RB Him. Real working class socialist movements have succeeded in the past, always promote strong family structures and strong community involvement. Absolutely. Thank you for the $5, RB Ham.
Well,
I think that's another reason
why Accord, I think, is about to put a stay on his dismissal of the U.S. aid workers.
What was
I read that headline right before we went on. A court was gonna put.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Trump
yeah,
firing the U.S. aid workors.
Dude, that's actually kind of dark. I saw the headline. I didn't get a chance to read it. Here it is. So if USAID, a corrupt organization, exists, and the people oppose the corrupt organization known as USAID, they are essentially saying that you can't vote it out. Right. So let's say, I'm not saying this is the case, but let's say hypothetically that Trump was the candidate that Americans vote for and they want to get rid of USAID. Mm-hmm. So this is essentially our administrative state saying that you cannot vote to change institutions that the empire finds too viable. And that's my first instinct when I see the story. I think that's very dark. But
all right, so this is the thing. This is how we covered it. You cannot make the argument to people as they were trying to make. Do you want Elon Musk making these decisions or your elected representatives? Their answer is Elon, because you're not going to do this. You're not going to do this. Not in a million years. You have a failed system. And when the system fails, they say, you know what? I'd rather have autocrats who are going to, in some way, be responsive to what I want them to do. And at this point, yeah, what he's doing is illegal. They don't care.
Right.
People don't care. And when you're in a world like that where the people don't care and the guy has been elected, how are you going to stop him then? I mean, you know, they're trying. That this is the game of chicken that was inevitable. What happens if they just say, yeah, fuck the courts? What are you going to do? What do they do? Are they going to send in the army? Will the army obey those orders? Like, how is that all going to work? Or will the people that Trump put in tell them to stand down? Like you will probably see this come to a head in a constitutional crisis, I would say within the next 2 months, because a court is going to order him to stop. And there's going to be something they tell him to stop doing, and he's going to refuse. And then it's going to be, well, what? Okay, go get your fucking shine box. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Come get me. Good luck.
That's going to be hilarious. I want you guys to realize something. And I know you probably got to head out here soon, Ken, so I'll pass it to you. The whole, and I explained this before Trump took office, and feel free to put back on me if you guys disagree with this. I view the whole Elon Musk Dodge thing as political theater. So yes. Congress is putting their decisions to make drastic cuts on Elon Musk. Dodge is a marketing campaign. He has no real power. His power comes from the fact that people in Congress support Elon Musk's agenda. If people in Congress did not support what Elon Musk was doing, he wouldn't get anywhere. But Republicans have control of Congress, and they are afraid of their voters because if they challenge Elon, their voters will go after him. So at the end of the day, Elon really doesn't have power. He's doing the will of the president. He's doing the will of Congress. He's the fall guy. Because I don't know if you guys know this or saw. I saw a segment today where they showed Elon Musk was deeply, deeply underwater. So Democrats' line of attack are working. It's working according to polls. Going after Elon, paying him at the Kingsmaker. The only thing I say is that this is generally how it goes. The billionaire donors influence Congress, and Congress passes their will. There's not really that much of a difference. And once again, feel free to put it back on me if you guys disagree with this. There's not really much difference between what's going on between Elon Musk and Donald Trump than whatever happened in American history. They just got a guy who's smart enough in Donald Trump that was like, all right, we can't have our politicians taking the fall for this. I'm not taking the fall for this. So we have a Department of Government Efficiency. I don't know. That's just something I've been thinking about. I'm not saying I'm 100% right. Let's move on. Feel free to interrupt. Keen, anything else you want to add? I know you said you had a hard out at 8:30. So
I mean, it's not a hard out, but I do have to go in a couple of minutes because I got to get the kids to bed. They got an extra hour out of me tonight because we started at 8.
That's right. They did a revolution.
These shows fly by, man. I can't believe it's over 90 minutes. Can't believe it's almost 90 minutes in. These shows really go by fast to me.
They always go fast. But yeah, no, I mean, I said on our last stream, I think Doge this is what a psyop is. If this is not a psyop, I don't know what is. This is a guy who is using his position as a quasi government official to just manufacture consent for the total dismantling of the administrative state. Anything that could possibly be a check on billionaire power. He's using his position as Donald Trump's right-hand man to build a base of popular support behind that. And broadly speaking, you're right. It is failing in the sense that Elon's numbers are lower than Trump's. Elon's numbers are, I think, 39% now have a favorable view of Musk.
And I think he used to be very positive. Correct me if I'm wrong, but like throughout the 2010s.
I mean, before he got political, he was seen in a much more positive light. But you really see like the ecosystem to the extent that the online discourse matters, which is to apparently a pretty large extent. Otherwise, Trump wouldn't have won. He really is creating a pretty big circle of just brainless loyalists.
They just rehired the guy with the racist tweets.
Yeah. The 19-year-old, right? Whoever he is, big balls, right? You really are seeing, a mob take shape. And a certain consensus build behind what he wants to do. Now, is it at 50%? No. Does it have to be at 50%? I don't think so, especially given the state of the Democratic Party. Like, they're in no shape to challenge this. They're in no position to challenge this. They may win the House in 2026 because they only need a handful of seats to do so. It's pretty close. So they may eke that out, maybe. I don't even know. I don't see them winning a national race anytime soon. So, he has a political capital that maybe not as much as you would need in a normal time, but these are not normal times. And so, I think you're right, Nick, that obviously he is from Trump's point of view, it is convenient to have a guy like Musk there who's not officially part of the team because his numbers fall faster than Trump's do.
Yeah, what's that? Kid, anything else you guys want to add? I'm gonna read some more super chats.
Well,
let me know how you guys doing on time too. But Kid, go ahead.
While we still have some time before the show wraps up, I will say that the whole shakeup that Elon and Doge are doing is at least getting some people to start questioning reality and questioning the system. It's not as it's not as massive as I would hope it to be, but it's enough to where maybe we can get the conversation across the political spectrum and realizing about the waste. I mean, it is all a show at the end of the day, and it's all entertainment. And yes, we could laugh at big balls, we could laugh at people, we could laugh at Reuters and Politico and all these bread tubers losing their gravy train. But all in all, okay, what else is going to be hidden from us? How will this take a different shape and form? Because as one thing dies, something else will replace it, and vigilance is key. That's something that I'm concerned about, because once this thing dies out, something new can rise up.
I think our objective as a left at this time, and that's something I really want to focus on at the Worker Strike Back conference, luck favors the well-prepared mind. We have to prepare now with a consistent message, a clear agenda that has broad appeal, that focuses on economics and class, so that we are ready to take the mic and make sure that the liberals never get it back, because they're the ones who got us here. They got us here.
Mm-hmm.
Very well said, Russell. I think, and this is me speaking on a values message more than anything. I guess more than strategy, because a poll showed recently that the majority of people who voted for Joe Biden in 2020 didn't vote for him because of Gaza. Guys, that is gigantic. I have never seen Israel-Palestine be the decider in my entire life. So once again, I'm not saying this is the right strategy. This is more my value speaking. I think we should take that momentum and create a legit anti-genocide, a true anti-war movement. The likes we've seen at the beginning of Obama 2008, the only difference is we learned our lesson and don't allow the anti-war movement to die. There's never been name a time in our lifetime that's been a better time other than 2007. Where you have people on the right that's tired of war, Democrats who are leaving the party because they're tired of war, and independents who are independent because they don't like war. It's the best time ever. So I 100% agree with Russell. It needs to be a working class movement. I'm taking something that political consultants don't say. I think we need to have a foreign policy led movement, because it's something that resonates with Americans when it's brought up. A lot of Americans don't think about it because it's not brought up. But if we have a peace movement, I promise you we win. Even a lot of libertarians over, which is why I think it should be a very big part. But I agree 100%.
Well, look, Worker Strike Back has that in their language, which I think is very smart. And, you guys are going to be there in person. I'll be covering it here. And by the way, what we want to do, as long as we're here, I may as well plug this. We want to do a super stream where we're going to stream it using the Worker Strike Back official stream plus Russ's on the ground footage. But then we want to do a super stream, so we want our friends with their channels, and you guys, of course, if you want, to stream it on your channel, and then you can call in and we could talk about it as it's going on. Now, Nick, you're going to be there. I don't know if Sabby or JB want to stream it on theirs, or if Kit, you want to stream it on yours, and then you can call in. We want to get as many eyes on that as we possibly can. So we want to make that we want to make as big a splash with that as we can.
Yeah, send me all information and I'll be on board.
Yeah,
okay,
RBN definitely be down on that. Just an update. JB will be our representative this time. I went last time.
Oh, so you're not going?
You're not going?
Yeah, I'll be. JB will be our representative. I'm not going this time.
Oh, very cool.
JB will be there.
Oh, that's great. So
I can go stream it on RBN. JB will be there. I was there last time.
Okay, so if you co-stream it on RBN, then that's great. Then you can be part of our super stream, because we're gonna stream it all day. And then I'm going to bring in guests in like half-hour intervals. We have some other people
the on-the-ground correspondent.
Right, and Russ will be the on-the-ground correspondent. All right, that's cool. That's
Sounds
cool.
Good.
But yeah, I mean, I think that part, that anti-war language, that anti-genocide language, very important. I'm glad they have that in their language of Worker Strike Back. I will say, without opening a big can of worms at the end, as you said, Nick, very important not to signal allegiance with the liberals on culture war stuff.
Yes.
And now, Shama said, there's going to be room for deliberation and debate as part of that movement, which I think is great, that, they're going to have an open door policy. And these are things that'll be hashed out as it goes on, right? But I think it's important to take that into the conversation, because there will be an allowance for a conversation there. Because, you have the Greens there, who I think should be there. Obviously, they have a ballot line. So if before you start a party, if you get a chance, if lightning strikes in a bottle and you want to run a candidate, if you have the Greens there who can give you that line, it's good to have a party with a ballot line in case you want to do that, right? They tend to dabble in some of that stuff. And look, it's all good. We'll have a conversation. That's what it's about. That's what's in the language right now. Shama just put out a tweet this afternoon saying, we're gonna cast a broad net and we're gonna debate issues and people can bring their positions and we talk about it. That's what events like this are for. That's what conferences and conventions are for. So it's all good. And the Shama, what gives me hope about Shama is that she's a winner. She not only wins elections, she wins goals. She wins policies. So she's a pro. I trust her, and I trust that, there will be room to hash things out and get things going. It's a very exciting thing.
I implore everyone to support this effort, and even if you don't agree with Worker Strike Back 100%, why not attend? Why not put your ideas out there?
Right. Yeah,
and I'm speaking kind of to my comrades at RBN. If you are a socialist without a socialist organization that either you formed or you're part of, what are you doing, man? Get in the game.
Yeah, and look, whether you agree with the whole and whether you agree with the whole platform or not, or everything that they say, when you look at when you look at the results of her leadership, it's stuff that just about everyone on the left is for, whether it's the Amazon tax or the minimum wage, right? I mean, like these are left goals with pretty broad-based appeal. She's one of the only third-party people who's ever won these, and she did it in the home of Amazon, Microsoft, and Starbucks. So that ain't easy.
Yeah, I love Shama. Get involved in an organization. Create your own. Organize. That's the most important thing to do. We can laugh, we can cry on these channels, but get involved in your community. If you're a socialist and you are not part of a socialist organization, you're not really a socialist. You're just a fan of the ideology. I'm sorry to play gatekeeper. That's just the raw reality. I'm gonna see what super chats I missed. I want to get you guys out here. We had a ton of super chats. I'm gonna just read a few more. I think I skipped out. If I'm missing it, not like a shade. Let's see how many I can fit in here quickly so I can get you guys out on time. Thank you for $10. Crap, I missed the show. Oh well, here, take my money. Love you guys. Make sure you guys check out the replay. We got a working class audience. Most
rewind button. There you go.
Yep. Legal theory called delegation of authority that Trump will probably use as a defense in court if and when the constitutionality of Dodd comes up. Interesting. Thank you for the 199. Marvin, great panel. Once again, these shows always fly by. I had like 2 segments that we even do today. I always over prep for these shows. They always just flow naturally. Thank you for the $10, Donnie. Please warn Palestinians about the earthquakes happening in Greece. If a major quake occurs, a tsunami could hit Gaza. That's terrifying. Thank you for $5. Awesome crew together. Thank you all, gents, and keep it going. Definitely will. Next month, once we have a larger report card of the Trump administration, next month definitely going to be a banker as well.
Yo, Team Kid, there you go.
Team Kid out here. You guys got to check out that morning show, man. I always do my hotspots in the morning, so I always can catch Kid a little bit as I'm prepping for my hotspots. It's a great wake and bake program if you're into it.
There you go. As you should. As you should.
Thanks for the $10, Linda. I hope to meet some of you at the Worker Strike Back event. I was at the last few events. I had a big move. To be clear with you guys, RBN, we're not a money making machine. I didn't want it. I probably could have asked Sharma, hey man, can you fly me out? No, you guys don't. No, I don't want to take that much money. I already did a few of these events, and I want to send JB out to do it. That's why JB had a fundraiser.
Is he going to do the speaking slap?
I gotta ask JB. I think so, but I don't want to say it without knowing for sure. So we want to do the fundraiser, send JB up there, but I didn't want to have like 2 fundraisers for that. So we're like, all right, fuck it, let's send JB. I had this big move that fucking buried my wallet. You guys know how expensive moving is. So I was like, man, I ain't fucking flying out there. But I also don't want to ask you guys to fundraise just me go to Seattle. So that's why I'm not going, but I will be at the next event for sure. Mostly just money. And I didn't want to ask you guys to fundraise for me there. I already did that. Thank you for the $20 Tusker. I think we almost caught up here. As I find some more super chats, because there's a few I skipped. Yeah, what you got coming up?
Well, obviously, I got something special over the weekend, a special live stream. I can't say anything too much about it, but for me, it's close to the heart. But stay tuned, folks. But also, what I would like to say to people is please double check that you are still subscribed to all of us and need that notification, because I've been noticing that people are telling me that they're not being notified when I go live or upload any of our videos. And I'm just wondering, hey, US AIDS, are you trying to come at the hard lens and independent media because we're calling you out or anything else like that? So just folks, working on a couple great projects. Daniel says hello. We got a couple other things, 99 perspectives happening, but I got to keep some of that on the hush. But Hard Lens live Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Central, YouTube, Rumble, Kick, X, and on Rockfin as well. And we have our show on Can TV. So just double check you're still subscribed, because I'm just wondering, is that jackboot coming down on our necks right now?
Yeah, we definitely felt it as well. Make sure you guys follow everyone in the Code Duopoly Network. Russell Keaton, what do you guys have coming up in the Dissidence world?
We're on Sunday at 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock show this Sunday, not 7, because it's Super Bowl Sunday. So we're on a few hours early this week, and then we're going out. Russ is going out to Seattle. That's the big project this month. So.
I have a tour coming up. Up in March. I'm doing the Irish Mob of Hell's Kitchen. So if you're going to be in New York, that's the weekend before St. Patrick's. So I think that's the 14th and 15th.
Yep.
You go on Eventbrite. You look up Irish Mob with Russell Davular. It'll come up. If you want
DoDissidence.com/tour.
Yeah,
also.
All I'm gonna say is I hope America is ready to cry, because that 3P is definitely about to happen. Hope y'all can realize Kansas City Chiefs 3P coming up.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Yeah.
It's so weird. You guys know we have been completely unhinged like the last year and a half. Like it's gonna be so many people gonna be insufferable. I wish I cared more than I do. I'm more of a combat sports guy. Right. To me, it's kind of cool. It's cool to have a team that won Super Bowl 2 years in a row, but I wish I cared more. I used to be super into football back when I used to play. I used to play fullback back in the day. After that, I kind of don't follow as much as I used to. But it is dope.
I might be moving up to Buffalo at that point. I'm almost going to have to start to like football. Those fucking
you got to.
You better.
Are obsessed with that.
Better,
shit.
man. That's it, man.
I can't stand the commercials. I got a irrational hatred of commercials. Luckily, Kansas City, we're the barbecue capital of the world. So I watch Chiefs. I go watch Chiefs games, just eat barbecue for the most part. I can't stand watching Chiefs, if I'm be honest with you guys. There's way too many commercials. But anyway, any last thoughts? Anyone for Penalty thing you want to shout out? I think this was a great show as always. Thank you guys for watching. Russell, any last thoughts? Anyone say here?
No, thanks for having us.
Show as always. Thanks, man.
All right, make sure you guys check us out next month for Post Duopoly Show. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you guys check out Harlan's Media and Dissidence. I'll be back next week. I got Nico playing.
The Kendrick Lamar halftime show. Oh, we got to see that. That's going to be gold. Drake is going to be crying in his pillow.
Yeah. All right, guys. Have a good one. I'll see you guys next week. Peace out.
Bye.
All right.